All right, aloha everyone, and welcome to our Spin Conference 2021, Journey Through the Wilderness. We're so excited for you all to be here today. We have a great workshop prepared for you with two wonderful speakers. But before we jump in, I do want to take some time to introduce our program to you. So again, aloha and welcome to the Employment It's a Jungle Out There workshop. My name is Sheree and this is Luna, and we will be your Wilderness Explorer guides for this presentation. So here we have Spin's golden rules for a great Zoom conference. So we'll just go over that. So workshops will be in webinar format. Your video and sound will be turned off. To ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Be kind, be considerate, be respectful. All workshops will be recorded and posted to the Spin Conference website very soon. Please help us by filling out a workshop evaluation using the link provided to your workshop chat. Also, please turn on automatic Zoom captions. On the bottom of your screen, you can look for the CC Live Transcript button. Click on the up arrow to open a new window. Click on the show subtitle and the captions will be on the screen. You can turn off the subtitles by hiding them. I also want to mention that this presentation will be interactive and you will have the opportunity to use our annotation feature. You can find the annotation speaker at the top of the speaker's screen, and you can use the drop-down menu to select annotate, or you can select a pin, or you can select a text box to participate. I know that that sounds a bit confusing, so no worries, we'll walk you through it when the time comes. Again, please fill out a short evaluation for the workshop before you go. You can follow this link there. And finally, I want to introduce our wonderful speakers today. We have Jared Nalaiai, Employment Specialist, Center of Disability Studies, UH Manoa, and Rhonda Black, Professor, College of Education at UH Manoa. So I'll turn it over to them. Enjoy the presentation.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen now. Can everybody see it? Can you see the screen now? Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content that we have for you today. And we'll go ahead and get started. I personally am going to set a timer for myself so that we have plenty of time for Jared. So outcomes for today: understand the importance of introducing children with disabilities to the expectations of work and your contribution to the community from an early age. Gain tips for helping students develop soft skills that are important for most work environments. Learn some of the innovative ways that the Center on Disability Studies, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and the Developmental Disabilities Division are looking at future careers and job searches, and know of resources for more information about promoting and finding employment for students with disabilities. So in the chat, please, I want to make sure I can see it in the chat, please. Everyone, what do you think of when you hear the word transition? Good. I see moving from one stage to the next. The unknown. Changes. Change. Change. One place to another, one phase to the next. What happens after high school? Spooky. Growth. Scary. I know, fitting for Halloween, right? Great. Change, new role. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. When should transition planning begin? Chat again. I saw becoming an adult and difficult in that last one too. At all times in the teenage years, from childhood And I'm just looking at the chat over here, so don't think that I'm not paying attention. Okay, the start of every phase as early as possible from birth. As soon as they start school, okay, we are always transitioning. Yeah, when the child has shown interest in all phases, early childhood should always be thought of. Thank you so much. Well, in order to hit the target, transition planning needs to start early. So there are stages of transition: awareness, orientation, exploration, and preparation. And I'm just going to go over those. So here's a chart that kind of shows them side by side, and then I'll go over each one individually. But awareness, typically, depending on the child, this may adjust a little bit, but we want to start this around elementary age. Okay, so just some basic awareness, the importance of work. Then orientation in middle school, where actually not just awareness, but moving into what are some of those different jobs, what are some of the details, and maybe some job tryouts, some volunteering, some tours. And then high school is when we get into vocational assessments, maybe vocational courses, an apprenticeship, more interviewing skills, and just preparation, exploring first and then specific preparation. So elementary, awareness. A lot of kids, this is really fun for me to talk about because I work with a lot of high school teachers. And when they first start writing the transition plan and ask about a student's interests, like what is a student interested in? A lot of the teachers say they have no idea. So kids get to high school and they have no idea. Now, granted, you don't have to decide. Probably many of us were still changing majors even in college, but awareness. What are some of the different occupations out there? And as you see, you've got the doctor, nurse, firefighter, police officer, etc. But you know what? There's a lot more out there. So, the things, what do you want to be when you grow up? Knowledge of what type of jobs are out there. One of the things that you can do is just think about people in your family and the different jobs that they have. Talk about them a little bit. A lot of times when kids are around, we don't talk about our jobs. We don't talk about what they involve. Kids know what they've experienced. So they say they want to be a firefighter because they've seen that. Their elementary school, they went to the fire station and got to climb on the big red truck or yellow truck. And that was so fun. So they say that's what they want to do. They may say they want to work at McDonald's because they've been there. They may want to work at a grocery store because they've been there. But many of the people and many jobs out there are really kind of behind the scenes. They are not somebody we see in the community every single day. What do people do in offices? Kids don't see that all the time. So one of the things is just knowledge of the type of jobs that are out there. So that's with the employment aspect, but also transition has to do with independent skills as well. So in elementary school, we want to start focusing on some of the self-care. Give your kids a responsibility around the house and have kids start developing this self-awareness. What do they like? What do they dislike? What are some things that they don't like? So maybe that is not a career area or something that you want to learn more about, which is in orientation. This is middle school. Just learning a little bit more. So in elementary, just be aware of different jobs out there. A lot of kids are aware of a very narrow range of jobs. So once you have explored an awareness, Orientation, you know, orientation can be, maybe even just asking a little bit more about what they're interested in, giving some more chores at home, participating in vocations and avocations. If a child is really interested in skateboarding, what kind of jobs would be available for somebody who's interested in skateboarding? If the child's really into video games, are there jobs that maybe could use those skills? So learn a little bit more. Something seems interesting, so learn a little bit more about it. And then learning about bigger job clusters. So, agriculture, architecture, arts, business, education, health, information technology, law, public safety, manufacturing, marketing, science, technology, transportation. So if something seems interesting, go for it. Let's start investigating. Okay. Increasing responsibilities around the home, and also kids starting to self-monitor. By the time they get to middle school, they need to start monitoring their own behavior, their own time. Like, how long does it take to clean your room? How long should it take? Just attitudes and personal dispositions. Developing a positive attitude towards work is super important. And then the self-care skills, hygiene and health. Exploration. So now that students have kind of learned a little bit more about different jobs, trying them out, going to a work site. So this happens in high school. So if we think about the first couple of years of high school, that's kind of trying out a job, visiting job sites. Because our last couple of years are going to be more preparation for a job that you have found interesting, you've done some research on. So job site visits, job tryouts, the career academies that are in the high schools. At this point, what kind of training is required for a certain job? Think about, kids don't know whether a job requires college or not. Does it require vocational training or not? What kind of training is required? What kind of entry requirements? And self-regulation, just being able to monitor one's emotional control, having that self-regulation. And at this point in high school, we really need to focus on life skills. Can they cook themselves a microwave meal? Do they know anything about what things cost out in the real world? They say they want to live on their own, they want their own house. Do they have any idea what that costs? And at this point, do they have any idea what kind of pay goes along with certain jobs? The last few years of high school should be actual preparation, specific preparation, apprenticeships, actually being in the job, not just looking, not just going to work with mom and dad day, but actually preparing for specific jobs. So job training, some kind of work experience. Did you know the best predictor of whether a student with disabilities will be employed after high school is whether they worked during high school? So a part-time job, a summer job, because there's so much more than just the job skills itself. It's the experience of being an employee, the experience of having to be interdependent, the experience of having other people depend on you. I tell a lot of high school kids, you know what? At this point, it's not all about you anymore. Everything that you do affects other people. It may be college visits and some specific vocational education. I can't wait to see some of the Q&A. I know we're not answering right now, but I'm looking forward to that. So internships, summer employment, some on-the-job training, and for students with more significant disabilities, some supported employment. For some students, jobs within the school. Just being responsible for something and having other people depend on you to do it. That's a huge transition where you move from you are dependent on the other people in your life for the student to where other people are depending on you. You know, kind of moving to that adulting, you know, where you have to be the one responsible. So now we're going to try it again. When should transition planning begin? Let's chat away. Early childhood. Should always be thought of as soon as possible. Elementary ages, you know, make it very naturalistic, just in conversations. You know, if you are driving around in the community, say, hey, look at that person. You know what kind of job they're, you know, they have. Friends over to the house, relations, you know, somebody in the family. Just bring that up in a conversation. Okay. What other skills need to be taught to ensure a successful transition? Look, go ahead, chat away. Getting along with others, self-awareness, self-regulation, independence, social skills. Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely. Responsibility, yes. Yes, responsibility. Self-determination, yes. Being able to advocate for oneself. Time management. Time management is huge. Being able to look at your clock and knowing how long something is going to take. Very good. Nice. Communication, interaction, financial literacy. Which brings me, you guys did so many of the things that you wrote about really fall into these workplace social skills. So we have social interaction skills, but there also are specific social skills in the workplace. So one of the things that we know is people, all people, lose jobs more often because of workplace social skills than because they couldn't do the job. And it's even more so for people with disabilities. We can do the vocational training. They can go to the job and know the specific job skills that they need to do. But they typically lose their job because of the social skills in the workplace. Communication skills, how to appropriately interact with your coworkers, your supervisors, and customers. There may be different communication skills depending on the situation and depending on the different people. So situation and people determine the appropriateness of a communication. Another one is just polite speech. So a lot of kids, you talk around the house, you talk with your friends. That's not the same kind of conversation that you can have on the job. You need to use polite language. You need to speak so that the other person feels respected. Self-regulation. So that might be anxiety management, which I see in the chat, the time management, adaptability. In the workplace, things change a lot. You might have to do one thing and then a supervisor pulls you off to work on another task. So having a lot of rigidity is going to be difficult. So anytime we can practice being adaptable, and I know that's difficult for a lot of children, we need to practice that, because if they don't have those skills prior to going to the workplace, they're not going to get them just like that. So all of these things need to be practiced before someone gets into the workplace. So including the self-regulation, adaptability, honesty, and dependability. You know, employers will keep a dependable employee way over a fast employee. You know, you could get things done really fast, but you know what? The person who is dependable, and dependability, not just being there and being there on time, but the employer can depend on the person to do the task that they are asked. Honesty in the workplace isn't just about stealing. It's about like not blaming others, taking responsibility, being honest with respect to like the time clock, being able to advocate for oneself. What do I need help with? And what can I do myself? And being able to take initiative. That's a huge difference between school and work. When kids are in school, they finish what they're doing, they wait for the teacher to tell them what to do next. On the job, you can't do that. You can't just sit around and wait for somebody to notice that you're finished and then say, oh, are you finished? Well, let me give you something else to do. So taking initiative. So that was a very quick rundown. If you want to know more, you can contact me or Jared, but hopefully that was somewhat informative. And I'm now going to turn it over to Jared.
Great. Thank you, Rana, for sharing those that great message. The part we're moving to now, folks, is employment development. What are some things, or what are some resources, or what are some different innovative ways that you can approach employment? These are several of the subject matters that we're going to go over here and kind of do a little short talk about. Microenterprises, reverse job fairs, customized employment, and support employment. Slide. Thank you. All right, so the first one we have listed here is micro enterprises. There is a question under there that says, what is it? Some of you may have heard about this before, or you look at these two terms and you're like, do these really go together? Something small, something big. So in this next slide here, we're gonna let you folks actually be able to script on this page and kind of answer this question: micro enterprises, what is it? And so at this point, there'll be a annotation ability, and whoever would like to scribble on here, you're welcome to. And we'll look and see what answers we have, and then compare those at the end of this short presentation. And if the annotation piece is not working for you folks, you can use the chat box as well. Small businesses, yes. Startups. Sometimes this term can throw you, right? Like I said before, micro, oh, something small. Enterprises, usually something super big. Contractor, yep. Thank you. These are all great self-employment. Oh, great little suggestions that we have here. Starting your own business. Yeah. Great ones, guys. If you continue to think about them, please put them in the chat, and we'll advance here in the slide and kind of cover what micro enterprises is. Okay. So the annotations you guys will see will disappear here shortly, all right? But micro enterprises here is kind of a lot of the answers that was typed in previously. Self-employment, small businesses, usually something small. It says 10 or fewer employees, but it can even just be one. Startup costs are low. And typically this particular thing is done for somebody to look at their skills, their strengths, and their interests. Now, what are the benefits here? The benefits here are listed. Types of work not found in existing jobs. So sometimes these are things that you can think about that you can actually do on your own. Sometimes they're related to hobbies. Sometimes they're related to interests. You can have your own control and self-reliance, meaning that an individual is depending on themselves to make either the business or the enterprise or what have you move forward. They have control over earnings with little impact on benefits. So something that can come up here is if individuals have benefits from Social Security, they can be fearful if an income changes, income levels changes, or they start making money. And sometimes you hear things where somebody might be nervous about, I don't want to make too much money because it'll impact my benefits. Sometimes in this way, you can control how much do I want to sell? How much do I want to do? Maybe I only want to make this certain amount. You can create a way to save. This is a great thing that will kind of talk about a little bit later in this presentation about different ways that you can save by doing this type of micro enterprise here. And then the job place and the job task in the workplace will match their skills. And what that means is if it's something that the individual is interested in, they're going to want to do it more. It won't necessarily be just a job that might be a drag or maybe something that they're unable to do. And this way here, it'll match their interest, their strength, and their skills, and put that to use to create a possible employment outcome. Potentially overcoming barriers to employment. Transportation was an example. So say somebody's unable to travel. Micro enterprise could be something they could do just from their home, or maybe their garage or backyard or what have you. Other potential employer barriers might be a communication issue. Maybe there's a certain task that the individual needs to perform on an entry-level type job that they're just not able to do. This way, you can kind of almost mold it and get it to an employment piece that works for this individual and whatever barriers they might have. Next slide. All right. So some of the things that needed to be successful. These are some statements here that have been shared that micro enterprises can be used as a successful tool for an individual to start in the workforce or to get introduced to. And again, it's individualized to their skills and interests. You can generate some income, and it's actually something that's genuine. So meaning you're getting an actual genuine work experience. You're getting genuine ways to start saving money and budgeting money and different things like that. It can be a chance to have social inclusion. So what this means is sometimes in your micro enterprises with the examples that were shared, sales, self-employment, different things like that, it might have to take an individual to go to a fair or a market or figure out a way to socialize with others around them to promote their business. This in turn can kind of start leadership skills. The individual's in charge of themselves and they're in charge of their own business. And these things kind of just by osmosis will start to evolve. And the individual is kind of put in this role because in the end, they're in charge, right? And then the range of supports can be formal and informal. Formal meaning you might have some help from an agency, or it might just be help from family members, mom and dad, maybe a friend or a mentor. Next slide. Okay. Now these are just some quick examples of different types of micro enterprises. Some of you guys, and these might be some obvious answers, but pottery, woodworking, artwork. I'll let you guys know. I live out on the North Shore side, so I drive past individuals that set up booths on the side of the road, and they're selling their woodworks, they're selling their artwork, different types of pottery, carvings, sometimes plates of food, and this is a micro enterprise. So an individual he is using their talents here in this particular piece to make an income. Public speaking and advocacy. Again, this is another small thing that you might be able to do around and actually get compensated for it. Internet and website development. Now this one here may take some training. Some of us come natural. Some of us are natural to this technology piece and are able to do it. And others, maybe it's something you got to go to school and learn. But again, this could be something you start small and move along. Personal services, yard work, baby, pet sitting. Some of these are jobs that we're already doing, that our students, that our children are already performing. Hey, can you go watch the so-and-so's kids down the street for the evening? Let's go around here and look for people and tell them that, you know, we'll do their yard work for them for a certain fee. So these are things that are kind of already being done. Delivery services. This one could be, you know, people are using food delivery services, flowers. There's examples like DoorDash or Uber Eats or different things like that. As long as they had access to either a vehicle or some kind of transportation service, this could be something that they could do. And then errand services here. This is kind of an old school thing, but like doing somebody, helping an individual with their dry cleaning, picking up groceries or taking mail, different things like that. Sometimes might even be like driving individuals to a doctor's appointment. So errand services, and you could charge for these, and if you wanted to, and this could be the start of your micro enterprise. All right, okay, next slide. This here is just a little fun slide here. It's just some different pictures of some of the examples that were shared before. Washing cars, cutting grass. The one here that's a little strange is this individual shoveling snow. And I know it probably doesn't reference here to our state here in Hawaii, but this is a micro enterprise that when I was going to school in Colorado, I did this, shovel my neighbor's sidewalks, and it gave me a couple bucks, and it turned into something that I could do. Raking leaves, yep, somebody put on there raking leaves, pet sitting and stuff. So this was just a fun slide to kind of hit home the point of the last one about some of the different types of jobs that we might already be doing or our students have already done. Awesome. Okay. All right. So what's needed to kind of make this work? All right. So support system, obviously, maybe these individuals might need some coaching, and you can get that from friends and family. You can get that from mentors and somebody that can kind of help them to maybe get it started, right? And also, this is one that you could use word of mouth with. Hey, my niece here, she's open to do babysitting chores. My nephew here is looking to start a business doing some lawn mowing, and you know, the kind of the network pieces about it, right? Number 2 is financial planning. Financial planning can mean a lot of different things. It can be budgeting. It can be going back to talking about if I'm in a lawn service, how do I keep my equipment good? How much is that going to cost me? What am I going to charge an individual if I come and do their lawn or, you know, babysit the kids or pets, what have you? In order for micro enterprises to work, there has to be a need for the product or the service within the area that like the community or within the area that the individual resides. So somebody has to want it. Somebody has to need it. If I came out and said, hey, I want to shovel snow here in Hawaii, obviously that's not going to work. So there has to be a need, or there has to be a need for the product or the service, which in the area or in the community. Benefits planning, again, this will be something for individuals that either have benefits from Social Security, or they might have some income limits, or to where earnings might affect something else. Benefits planning is a service that actually that I'll kind of cover a little bit later, that could be super helpful to kind of help maybe establish prices, rates, charges, and it also could be related to medical insurance and things like that. Individual skills and interests, obviously it has to be something they're interested in. If it's not, if it isn't anything like, I don't really like working outside, then somebody planning to do yard work, this will not be a good fit for them, right? And then this is a way to generate income. Getting paid I know the first time I got a paycheck, I was super excited until I actually saw the amount and the taxes and everything that got taken out. But it felt good at the same time to kind of make money and to put it away. Huh? All right, next slide. Okay, this next piece we're going to talk about is reverse job fairs. This is not a new technique. It's just a different type of approach to doing a job fair, okay? All right, next slide. Okay, so reverse job fair is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of employers being at booths and kind of waiting for individuals to come and they're speaking about the company, this one here, the student or the candidates are the actual ones that set up a booth. They're behind the table. They talk about themselves and they're kind of presenting themselves to the employers that are walking around, or in this case, maybe virtually cruising around on the site, and the employers themselves are the ones that are kind of like shopping. Whereas in normal traditional types job fairs, it's actually the candidates that are shopping the businesses, right? So in this one here, there was one that was done at the state capitol in 2019, and we actually want to recreate these here. This was something that was looking to be done actually last year, but due to some COVID, let's call it, this wasn't possible. But this is something that I'll speak again with a little bit later again, that we like to present and actually have students participate again. And it was very successful the last time around. All right, next slide. Okay, so getting ready for the fair. So if you're going to participate in this reverse job fair or a job fair, and what are some of the things that you actually need to do to get ready, right? So participate in workshops, learn how to market yourselves, and craft something like an elevator speech or a 30-second speech, right? Before you get to the fair, most of the time there's a registration list. So go over the list. Look who's actually going to be attending. Prep yourself to answer questions related to that business or how you can how you'll be able to fill a need, right? And then practice your answers. You can practice anywhere. Practice with your teachers, practice with your family members, practice with an actual job. Like go and speak to somebody that actually does the job, and try and practice your answers there. And then in these reverse job fairs, the student spends the majority of the time, actually most of the time, talking and presenting. So don't necessarily have something rehearsed, but be able to cover everything you want to. And the things to talk about obviously would be any accomplishments, other work experiences that you might have had or done before. And then also schoolwork, which could be I'm looking to study this, or I major in this, and match it to the companies so that when they approach you, you kind of know what to say and what to do, right? And then by practicing here, you don't necessarily run off on a subject and kind of take too long to explain something, yeah? So practice, practice, practice. All right. Okay, how to stand out at the fair. Now in reverse job fairs, again, and even in traditional job fairs, you'll see that there'll be different things that attract people to a booth, right? In the end, this is kind of, you're selling yourself. So create something that sparks interest and make people want to come and speak to you. It could be in the poster boards is something that's very popular at the reverse job fairs. So make it stand out. Make it so that people want to come and talk to you, even if it's not necessarily, say, a match to your skills or your interest or what you'd like to move forward. Drawing people in. And some ways that they do this, that you can do this, is with different types of games. An example that was shared here was a dice game, and an employer will come to a booth. A student or a candidate could let them roll a dice, and then there's a board, and whichever the number is, that is the topic that the individual will speak about, and kind of draft that into. So it's kind of gimmicky, and it can be, but in the end, it's because I want to attract attention and bring, so I can speak on subjects, yeah? All right, next slide. Okay, customized employment. we'll go through this one again real quickly. Again, when we get to the next screen here, you can either annotate it over on the blank page or stick it over in the chat. So customized employment, what is it? Any thoughts or any answers, please, again, you can share on the chat side or right here on the screen. So while the comments are coming in, or while the annotations are coming in, I'll kind of share a little bit. So customized employment, it almost sounds exactly like the way it is. Something that, so customized, when I think of customized, I think of like it's molded or it's made to fit a specific need, right? Okay, job carving, awesome. All right, meeting the student's needs, thank you. Customize it to the individual's strengths. Awesome. Specialty item that you designed. Okay, yeah. A job created based on your abilities. Yep. Thanks for sharing, you guys. All right. If you want to continue, please throw these over on the chat side if you'd like, and we'll move along here. So customized employment. This is a short little brief definition of it, but it's an employment service for individuals with most significant disabilities who require ongoing support services to succeed in competitive employment. There are some things that are put in place or are customized for the individual to be successful at a job that might not be in a traditional setting, or might be what the entry level or the average daily worker has to do. Okay. All right. Okay. There are elements to customization of employment. So typically in this one, there's a negotiation with the business so that the individual coming in fills a need and the employer actually gets the need met. Okay. Compensation is supposed to be at or above minimum wage. And then it needs to be something that's competitive, can be community-based and integrated work environment, meaning they're working with all different types of people, and it's not just one small area all by themselves. Okay. Next slide. Okay. So I know that was a little bit quick, but customized employment is exactly how it sounds. The employer and the individual mold together and do certain types of jobs. Now, I'll share an example. It could be like, hey, I need someone to navigate the email stuff and navigate this particular thing. A lot of times it's jobs that that an individual could do that takes off the burden of the employers that are already there. And it's like a piece where you're piecing together different tasks so that the individual can fill the need for that company. Okay. All right, we'll move to supported employment now. Okay, so what is it? Again, I'm asking this the same question here about what is supported employment, and we'll jump to the next one here. Okay, so supported employment is a model that provides people with disabilities the appropriate ongoing support that is necessary to succeed in an integrated work environment. So this could take on a bunch of different things. What most people associate supported employment with is sometimes having a coach, sometimes having somebody that assists on the job there, whether it's an aide, whether it's a temporary come in as a fade in, fade out, to kind of get the individual used to working there, and figure out the task and figure out sometimes different ways of how to perform those tasks. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Okay. All right. So quickly, these are some of the values of supported employment. Presumption that the individual is able to work. Again, inclusion is a big deal. Supported employment, we want to make sure that it's in competitive employment. It'll be part of individualized plan development, meaning it's inside of a contract that could be worked with an agency or such. And this is the model here that's kind of shared. And to give you a picture or a graph of how things can kind of come together for supported employment. So it shows on the employer side some of the things that are the employer are asked to do, as well as the employee. And how do you create that match so that the individual is successful at this job? Okay. Next slide. And then some examples of supported employment. Some of the services or some of the things that are associated with supported employment here. Again, job coaching, sometimes placement, meaning helping an individual find an actual job, training or retraining, developing natural supports sometimes is key, and that kind of helps so that the individual can sometimes lean on coworkers or others that are around them to help them. Then assistive technology, maybe you might need a piece of equipment to perform the job. And these are some of the examples of the services that an individual could benefit from supported employment. All right. The service provider role here, most individuals in supported employment program will receive these from a community-based provider. And kind of what this means is that that most of the providers, they'll have a job coach that'll come and work at the site temporarily and to try to make it successful. And again, it can be good and it could be a great match, but the coach also can help the individual maybe to realize that this particular site might not be the best fit. Yeah. Okay, next slide. All right, so quickly, these are some of the resources or some of the things. These three agencies here are the ones that I decided to kind of focus on today. And I'll move through these real quickly. Center on Disability Studies is actually the place that I work at the University of Hawaii. All right. This is our contact information here. And the center actually does a bunch of different types of things, but I'll kind of share about the project stuff that I think is beneficial to this particular presentation here. So Rhonda talked earlier about having individuals be exposed to work. This is a project here that's fairly new from the center that can introduce individuals to STEM, meaning science, technology, and math. And you can, this particular program is great because it gives individuals an internship at the end of the study to get exposure to this particular field. Sometimes this might not match with your fireman, policeman type of stuff. And this is another way to get exposure to different types of fields. And it's a great way to get hands-on experience. All right, next one. All right, so Jobs Now was another project that the center is working on. And this one here is key because it looks at the workplace directly, evaluates practices to remove barriers and assist in transition from secondary, post-secondary trainings to get competitive outcomes for youth. This is a great project here that if you choose to would like to get involved with, again, our contact info was listed above. Keep moving forward here. And then this one here, I've mentioned this a couple times about benefits planning and transition education. This is another project here that's from the Center on Disability Studies. This particular one here can does presentations and assist those that have benefits and how to plan those so that you can kind of see a process of if I get a job, what might happen to my benefits and stuff. Okay. All right, and I apologize, guys. I'm moving a little bit fast in lieu of time. All right. Okay. Another agency to look at is the State of Hawaii DVR. So DVR here is the agency that assists individuals with disabilities to find employment or to get ready for employment. This is just only the contact stuff here on Oahu here. And move to the next slide. Okay. Again, this is just a definition of what DVR does. And again, it helps individuals with disabilities to find, gain, and keep employment. We'll keep moving forward. All right, so in order to qualify for that, for DVR, there are some criteria here. But the one that I wanted to focus on for sure is the pre-ETS or pre-employment transition services. This actually can start at the age of 14. So, and this will expose individuals where they can start talking about careers or start talking about college programs that might be of interest to them. So this, if your students are 14, they can actually get started with this right away. All right, we'll move ahead. And then this is the contact info for the Developmental Disabilities Division here. We'll move ahead on this one. And so this is an agency that works with ID or DD populations, and they do a bunch of different numbers of services. The next slide actually kind of shows a couple of the things that they, I'm sorry, this is the definition. And then the next slide here. Oh, I'm sorry, Lainey. Yeah, I apologize. We're kind of jumping ahead, moving for time. Apologize for that. Any information that you need, my email and stuff will be at the end here, and I'll be glad to share these again with you. Okay. So Employment First is one of the programs here, or and then slow down. Okay. Yeah, you're right. All right. To achieve successful outcomes here, we'll move to the next slide. All right, discovery and career planning is kind of something where it's a person-centered approach. All right, so you want to check out and review with the individual what it is that they want to do and how to get ready to do that. Wow, awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. And then benefits counseling is another service that is done at the DDD division as well. Okay, moving forward. Next slide. All right, so this actually brings us to the end of our presentation. I apologize for the last about 10 slides there that we moved real quickly on, but again, these are the emails there that if you have any other questions, you're welcome to reach out. And again, this presentation will be posted on the website shortly, and you can move through the slides how you like. All right. Thank you everyone for attending. And at this point, I'm going to transition back to our producers, and we probably will have some time for some question Q&A.
All right, thank you so much, Rhonda and Jared, for that wonderful presentation. It was very fun and informative. And I'm pretty sure you all have a lot of questions. So we want to kick off our Q&A session. We have maybe about 10 minutes to answer a few. So if you haven't already put in your questions into the Q&A box, please do so now. So I'll start off with our first question from Ron. Is how important is the relationship between the child's parents and the employer?
Well, I can answer that. I think it really depends. So that's wow, great answer. The friend family network is one of the best ways to find employment for a child with or without disabilities. Just being able to have a child experience, or your teen, your young adult experience work in, your brother's company or something like that. Now, when it comes to parents being involved with an employer, typically it might be better to have the agency be involved. So the parents might contact the agency and talk to the service providers. So whether that be DVR or your Medicaid waiver provider, and then the agency communicates with the employer. If you know the employer, if it's part of that friend family network, go for it. If you don't, it might be better to have the agency. A quick example, I know one young woman and her mom called in sick for her, and her mom talked to the employer about what was stressful for her. And I know the employer was quite upset and was like, hey, I didn't hire the mom. I hired her. I want to talk directly to her. If something is stressful for her, I want her to tell me. If she's going to be absent, I want her to tell me. So the employer was just a little put off by talking to the mom. So I think, if you know the person, friend, family network, go for it. If you don't, maybe you communicate everything you need with that agency, because they are providing services for the family. So that's part of their job. Yeah. Jared, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that was really well said. And again, they're going to want to speak to the employer directly. The employment world, we're a little bit different than school, yeah. So that is one of the keys, and I could see how the employer would feel about, why am I talking to you? You know, this is the employee. So thank you, Rana.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So another question here in the Q&A box. Are the services you mentioned at UH Manoa open to all islands or only Oahu?
I'll take that one. Thank you. So the three projects that I kind of highlighted, two of them are actually statewide. One of them is Oahu, Big Island, and Molokai only. And that's the one that was the Hokulani project with the internships. So that one currently is actually currently going on, but that one's only on Oahu, Big Island, and Molokai right now. But the other two for benefits planning, that one's open statewide.
Thank you, Jared. I think we have time for one more question. How do I support my child and if they do not qualify for DVR services?
There are other agencies. So DVR has the expectation of employment. If you don't qualify for DVR, depending on, you know, the son or daughter's disability, it may be more appropriate to get registered for SSDI and then receive Medicaid waiver services. So there are different agencies, you know, DVR is fantastic, but they aren't the only source. So I don't know, Jared, anything to add to that?
So the qualifications for VR services is an individual has to have some type of impairment or disability, and they also have to want to work and able to participate in some type of a work plan. If you don't meet those are really the two top criteria actually. And if for some reason there isn't either one, there isn't a disability, or two, the individual's not necessarily on an employment track, that'll keep them from say qualifying for DVR services. And are there others? Yes, there is. Just how Anna just mentioned, there are some other programs that can assist with that. And again, put my email on there. Please send it directly to me, and I'll shoot you links and all kind of other stuff for anywhere else that you may want to take a look at.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have time for just one more. This is from Pauline. Isn't there a law that requires agencies, organizations to hire a certain percentage of those with disabilities?
I may be right, may be wrong on this. I think that only applies to federal. I think some federal agencies are required, but not all. And yeah, there is not a law that requires a certain percentage. Yeah. So Cheryl just wrote federal contractors. So federal, not state and not private. So federal. Thanks, Cheryl. Send that to everyone. You had an one earlier, and it looks like you're sending to hosts and panelists. Click everyone so everyone sees all your answers, because you had a really good, you had a good one earlier. You had a couple of good chats. Beautiful. That's great. But yeah, federal is all I know of.
Thank you. That brings us to our close for our workshop today. We apologize if we haven't gotten to your questions, but we do have Rhonda and Jared's email available to you to email your questions directly to them and have those questions answered.